Back with you on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. Be a part of our ever-growing community by hitting that subscribe button. Almost 2,900 folks that have signed up now to be a member of our community there. We appreciate all the folks that have jumped in and joined us. Leave us a 5-star review when you download us for free on your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. And as always, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. So Roquan Smith, the linebacker for the Chicago Bears, former first-round draft pick, who, of course, played at the University of Georgia. And he's from Montezuma, Georgia, by the way. 8th overall pick in the 2018 draft. He put out a tweet saying that he wants to be traded by the Chicago Bears. Now, he's entering into his 5th year, his final year of his rookie deal, right? 5th year that they picked up. And look, he's going to be in line to make a whole bunch of money. He's in line to be another somewhere, projections are $17 to $20 million linebacker right there, okay? If Roquan wants to be traded, here's what I say. Bring him back to us. Bring him home. Bring him to Georgia. Bring him to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the interesting thing about Roquan is physically, he measures out about the same as Deion Jones. They're both 6'1". Roquan's listed at about 5 to 7 pounds heavier than Deion, so it's not a huge difference physically. Here's the thing, though. Roquan, for the last, in his career with the Bears, has played in their 3-4 defense. They are switching over to a 4-3 defense this year with their new coordinator, but he's been in a 3-4 defense since he's been in Chicago. And he's a guy that obviously has been a very productive player in the NFL. In fact, he's been second team All-Pro the last 2 years. So the pandemic year and then last year, second team All-Pro player, right? He's been a guy who can do a little bit of everything. He can make an interception, right? We know what he did at Georgia. He can run sideline to sideline. He's a ball hawk. He can pick passes off. He can cover. He can recover fumbles. He can do this. He can tackle. He can do all of those things that you would want out of a linebacker for this Dean Pease defense. Bring him home. Now, look, does that mean that the Bears want Deion Jones or what have you? Probably not. Do they want to just add a $20 million linebacker onto their roster? Because Roquan, by the way, is only about a $9 million guy this year, $10 million on the cap. He's not a whole lot of money because he's in his 5th-year rookie option, right? So he ain't costing you a whole lot of money. Falcons do have the money, so I'm not worried about that aspect of it. But what do the Bears want back in return? Might cost you a player and a draft pick for all of it. Fine, whatever. Look, we're looking for playmakers. We're looking for guys to be stars on our defense, right? We're looking for guys to make a difference. We need more talent on this defensive side of the football. We need more guys who are playmakers. Roquan Smith fits that bill, especially at a position where you feel like there's so much flux, whether it's going to be Deion Jones staying or Michael Walker, Ike Wachowski, Rashaan Evans, right? There's some guys, Troy Anderson, that they drafted. There are some guys that are intriguing. But if we're starting to look for known commodities and we're starting to look for things that you feel like you have something that's, I don't want to say a completely finished product, but Roquan Smith is a guy that we know what we're getting with him. And he's played in a similar type of system that Dean Pease is going to run. And while he's not maybe physically a whole lot different from Deion Jones, his production has been there. And he's only 25 years old. And look, it's going to cost you some money. But remember everybody telling me about all this cap space that's available at the end of the year? And remember Arthur Smith a few months back saying that the big thing about cap space is signing your own guys? Ding, 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 right? So if you've got the cap space next year and you're going to have to give him a contract extension, they've got the money to do it. This is where your cap space is a benefit. Cap space is not a good thing by and large to have. It means you haven't been a very good organization as far as drafting and acquiring players. But in this case, if you're going to sign one of your own guys, this is what you want the cap space for. So all of it makes too much sense to bring him here. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second. But first, my folks over at BetOnline.net are sponsoring the show today. Listen, baseball cranked up in full go right now, right? We're into NFL preseason. Falcons start up on Friday. We've already had the Hall of Fame game, right? This weekend, NFL football gets cranked up hardcore. You've got esports, you've got golf, you've got MMA, you got boxing. You got everything available to you at betonline.net, your fastest and easiest way could find all of your betting needs, right? So you can use that mobile device, head over to betonline.net, all of your sports wagering information, live in-game betting, scores, podcasts, everything that you need is right at your fingertips with the betonline.net app. And listen, you can find reviews. You can get all of your scores out there. Head there today to betonline.net. Use your mobile device. Learn about the action that's happening. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. So look, again, I don't know what the price is going to be, but if a guy wants out and he's in the final year of his deal, the asking price is probably not going to be ridiculous for Roquan Smith. And to be honest with you, where else would he want to go? He comes to a similar style of defense. You can plug him right in and you can play him and you feel good about one of those inside linebacker spots, right? And whether the Falcons decide that they're going to cut Deion, whether they're going to trade him, I still believe that Deion Jones is not going to be here on this roster at the end of the day. I don't know if that means they're going to trade him. I don't know if that means they're going to cut him. I don't know what that means, but I don't think Deion Jones, when they line up week 1, whatever it is, September 7th or whatever, when they line up week 1 of the NFL season, I don't think Deion is going to be on the roster. And for a defense and an organization that's looking for young, good talent, like, for all due respect, how many second-team all-pro players do we have on this roster right now? What's that, about none? You know, I mean, A.J. Terrell is that kind of player. Maybe Kyle Pitts will be that kind of player. But we have very few of those guys that we look at that are building blocks for our organization moving forward. And, yeah, it's going to cost you some money. But, again, that's what all this cap space is for, right? For all the talk about cap purgatory this year and all the dead money and things like that, now is the time to use it. Bring in a young player, give him the contract extension. Yeah, he's going to cost you a whole bunch. Well, I don't want to get back into a big contract. You want talent, you got to pay for it, folks. You want a guy like Roquan Smith, second-team All-Pro the last 2 years, you're going to have to pay some money. Because you put guys like that in the open market, he's going to get $17, $20 million. And again, that's what cap space is for. Doesn't do you any good to have cap space if you don't spend it, right? Doesn't mean anything to have cap space if you're not going to use it on players that you want to lock up long-term. So Roquan makes all the sense in the world. My message is bring him home. If he wants out of Chicago, where else, what better place for him to do than come back home to Georgia, come play for the Atlanta Falcons? Would love to see it. Would love to see him here. And he helps increase your talent level. And look, at a position where you can use a lot of help, right? You need a lot of help in that inside linebacker spot. Not everything is kind of set in stone. I'll be curious to see what Michael Walker's role is going to be. Kiwitkowski is going to be kind of one of their swing linebackers, right? Rashaan Evans is a guy that Dean Pease has talked about that he couldn't understand why the Tennessee Titans let him go. So if you told me we got Evans, we got Troy Anderson, we got Roquan Smith, Michael Walker, all of these guys inside, how much better do you feel about your inside linebacking core at that point, right? Because we know Deion Jones isn't really the ideal fit physically for what this defense wants to do. And you saw his struggles kind of bubble up to the surface last year. Doesn't mean Deion Jones doesn't have value. Still a very good coverage linebacker. Can still be a very productive piece in this league. And again, the Bears are going to switch over to a 4-3 defense this year. Maybe that's a better fit for him when all is said and done. Whatever. That's for them to figure out. Who knows? Deion Jones might not even be part of a package if you decide to trade for a Roquan Smith. All I can tell you is this. Bring Roquan home. Let's get him back to Georgia. I love the idea that if he wants out of Chicago, what better place to do than come to the Falcons? Falcons have money. They're going to have money to spend. They can use some of their assets. And if you told me we have to give up a draft pick or two, fine. I'd rather have the known commodity than roll the dice on guys that I don't know what they're going to be. Bring Roquan home. Let's see if the Falcons can get this thing done. All right, when we come back, how long is Ian Anderson going to be down in the minors? We'll kind of ponder that question up next. Hitting hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta.